Other top stars. Fury in Russia amid Ukraine missile move. Kwankwaso claims Lagos plotting to colonize northern Nigeria. PDP slams President Tinubu over GCON conferment on the Indian Prime Minister. Ondo Labour Party Guber candidate blames Obi and NLC for his defeat. And Obasanjo demands sack of INEC chairman. Details now. Thank you for staying with us. The world news at 12 begins with US President Biden's decision to allow Ukraine to strike inside Russia with long-range missiles, sparking a furious response in Russia. A Russian government newspaper today wrote that US President has taken one of the most provocative, uncalculated decisions of his administration, which risks catastrophic consequences. Russian MP Leonid Slutsky, head of the pro-Kremlin Liberal Democratic Party, predicted that the decision would inevitably lead to a serious escalation threatening serious consequences. Russian Senator Vladimir Zhabarov called it an unprecedented step towards World War III. In recent months, the Kremlin has warned the West not to allow Kyiv to strike deep into Russian territory with these missiles. In September, President Putin warned that if this were allowed to happen, Moscow would view it as the direct participation of NATO countries in the Ukraine war. Meanwhile, back home in Nigeria, the new Nigeria People's Party NNPP presidential candidate in the 2023 elections and leader of the Kwankwasia movement, Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, has accused the Lagos of plotting to colonize northern Nigeria. Speaking during the convocation ceremony at the university in Kano State, the former state governor alleged that Lagos played a significant role in the ongoing emirate tussle in the state. Kwankwaso further raised concerns about tax collection and economic centralization, accusing Lagos of siphoning resources from Kano and other northern states. Reflecting on past legislative decisions, he alleged that lawmakers were once bribed to pass laws that significantly harmed the economy of the northern Nigerian states and other regions. Let's take a listen to Kwankwaso speaking about Lagos trying to colonize the north.
We can see very clearly that there is a lot of efforts from the Lagos axis to colonize this part of the country. Today, Lagos wouldn't allow us to choose our area. Lagos has to come to the center of Kano to put their own area at the center of the program.
In a recent development, the People's Democratic Party (PDP) has faulted President Bola Tinubu for decorating the visiting Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi with the Nigerian second highest national honor of the Grand Commander of the Order of the Niger (GCON). Speaking with journalists on Sunday, Deputy National Youth Leader of the PDP, Timothy Osadolo, described the president's action as misplaced priority. But the Deputy National Organizing Secretary of the ruling APC, Nze Chididuru, kicked against that, arguing that the president did not do anything unprecedented. The president said the award was bestowed on the Indian Prime Minister as a show of appreciation for their partnership and the bilateral relationship. However, the PDP expressed disappointment in President Tinubu, wondering why he chose to give the second highest national honor in the land on the basis of mere friendship. The member of the PDP and prerogative to confer a national honor on anyone, there must be a criteria to show why they deserve it. The PDP chieftain took a further swipe at the current administration, saying he wouldn't stop playing to the gallery with some of its alleged theatrics. Osadolo also wondered if the president took the liberty of asking the visiting prime minister and his delegation the right questions on investment and how Nigeria can borrow a leaf from Indians to move the country out of the woods. The reinstated Labour Party governorship candidate in Ondo State, Ayodele Olorunfemi, has bemoaned his failure to win Saturday's election, blaming former Anambra State Governor Peter Obi and Nigeria Labour Congress (NLC) for his predicament. Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa Progressive Congress (APC) was declared winner by the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) after sweeping 18 local government areas in Ondo State. In the final declaration of the result by the State Returning Officer, Professor Olayemi Akinwumi, he said APC's Aiyedatiwa polled a total of 300 366,781 votes to defeat Agbola Ajayi of the PDP, who got 117,845 votes. Olorunfemi's loss came a few days after INEC returned his name on the ballot as the Labour Party flag bearer for the November 16 polls following a ruling by the Court of Appeal. Following weeks of suspense, Olorunfemi heaved a sigh of relief when the Court of Appeal in Abuja vacated an earlier judgment by the Federal High Court ordering the Electoral umpire to recognize Obi's anointed candidate Olushola Ebishele. Reacting in an interview with journalists, Olorunfemi vowed not to forgive the former Labour Party presidential candidate and the NLC for the role they played in scuttling his Ondo governorship campaign. When asked if he succeeded in having a last-minute door-to-door campaign with his supporters after winning his appeal, he confessed that his campaign for the election was neither here nor there. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo has called for a comprehensive overhaul of Nigeria's electoral process. Speaking at the Chinua Achebe Leadership Forum in Yale University in the United States, Obasanjo specifically called for the dismissal of Mahmood Yakubu, chairman of the Independent, to restore credibility and trust. The former president also advocated for shorter tenures for INEC officials and a more rigorous vetting process to prevent the appointment of partisan individuals. You're currently listening to World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. We'll take a very short break and return with a news analysis segment. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. You're still listening to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. We're now going to the news analysis segment. And for that, I have revered journalist as well as political, social, national and international affairs analyst, Mr. Chukwuma Okoro. Always a pleasure to have you here. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chairman.
And happy new week. So, NNPP presidential candidate in last year's general election, Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, is alleging that Lagos has a plot to colonize northern Nigeria. Not just that, he's also saying that the emirship tussle in the north is being supported and instigated by forces and elements from Lagos State. He's also saying when it comes to economic centralization, Lagos is siphoning resources from Kano and other northern states. He's alleging that lawmakers were once bribed to pass laws that harm the economy of northern Nigeria and other states. I mean, where is the truth in that? Kwankwaso is a political elite. Do we take it as he knows what he's saying, or is this just ramblings of the opposition?
Well, Chama, it goes beyond ramblings of the opposition. If Kwankwaso had said that the Lagos is trying to colonize northern Nigeria, but within the context that he's talking about, on the flip side, one will also ask, how long has the northern Nigeria colonized the southern Nigeria? Granted that, the resources that has been used to build this and sustain this country since independence has largely come from the southern Nigeria, and has at any point in time, southerners come out to say, look, the north is colonizing the south. You know, we have not said that, but I think he's playing to the gallery, and it's part of what, in that direction, I will say that he's just playing the politics of opposition.
But isn't this enough to instigate? You know what it's like in the north, where it's like once they hear go, a mob appears and then takes action. Is this not capable of causing social unrest?
Exactly what I'm saying.
Not in Lagos.
Now that I have said that, does it look like the north has been colonizing the south for the past 60 years? Is it going to cause some kind of uprising here in the south?
And when Buhari was there, nobody said anything
Nobody
like
said
this.
Anything.
Was Lagos colonizing the north when Buhari was on the seat?
Exactly. You know, so it's more like trying to play to the gallery, like I said. And when politicians, you see the conduct of our politicians, the conduct of our people that we take as statesmen, the conduct of leaders, people that should ordinarily serve as role models, when they make certain statements, you know, you begin to interrogate the meaning of those statements.
Especially knowing the kind of following that they have.
You know, and especially when somebody like Kwakwanso, you know, like he has what they call the Kwakwansia movement. When Kwakwanso comes out to say, look, Lagos wants to colonize, or Lagos is colonizing the northern Nigeria, I think he's saying that in the light of the fact that, look, there's a tax reform policy, you know, bill that is before the National Assembly now, which the northern state governors have kicked against it. even all the governors even kicked against it. Even when they went to NEC, National Executive Council meeting, the governors rejected it. Why? Because we were talking about something like derivation and attribution from the VAT. Now, the problem of it is this now. They said that the proposal says that, look, if you collect VAT, the state of collection takes 60% of that VAT. Now, Choma, there's no problem with that, but the problem is that what do they mean by state of collection? What they mean by state of collection is, if you know what VAT is, value added tax is paid by consumers. Like if you make a call, right? If you buy an airtime, if you are using MTN,
even
or
when
Airtel,
you go to the restaurants
exactly.
and you make purchases, you always
so
see VAT excluded
so
or included.
VAT.
Yes.
So now the state of collection, if you make call now and it's MTN, what it tells you is that MTN has its head office in Lagos. Now, if you have 3 million subscribers in Anambra State, 2 million subscribers in Abia State,
all the tax is coming to Lagos.
all the tax is coming to Lagos because the MTN collects the tax, the VAT from Lagos because its head office is in Lagos. So if that is the direction that Kwakwanso is talking about, then it looks more like Lagos trying to colonize other states of the federation in that direction.
Just
But
in that direction.
but
But when you look at this tax reform bill, it is mostly opposed by the northern governors and lawmakers from the north, and they've hinged this mostly
So
on his bad practice.
NEC rejected it. NEC is the National Executive Council,
yes.
where you have members, all the governors are members of NEC. And they meet monthly, to review fiscal monetary policies and all of that, away from the Federal Executive Council meeting. NEC rejected it and said, no, we don't want that. Because the governors understand the implication. It's just that the North as a bloc, the governors as a bloc, had to amplify the rejection that was already made by NEC. So in that direction, you could say that looks like somehow Lagos is trying to colonize other states.
So does that mean that businesses should now relocate their headquarters for this reason?
So what tax experts are saying, before you get to derivation, do attribution. To the extent that if 3 million subscribers from Abia State or from Anambra State have contributed so amount of money, from MTN, that VAT should go to the state of collection, not to the state that has the head office of MTN. And it's not just about MTN, it's all about Nigerian breweries, Guinness.
Let's not call brands.
So, okay, sorry. All the companies, that have their head office in Lagos. That is what it means. So that is why people are kicking against it. But I ask the question, has there been any time that Southerners said, look, because the oil that has been used, oil money that has been used to run this country has always come from the Niger Delta. Have you ever heard the Niger Delta people saying, oh, the
Lagos
North
is trying to
North
colonize.
is colonizing, or Lagos is colonizing because we are the golden egg that lays the distance, So when people like Kwakwanso make such statements, you begin to, like I said, they should be mindful of their conduct in public.
Would you expect the presidency to wade into this? Because this is an utterance that is capable of causing social unrest. Lagos is trying to colonize the North. He also accused Lagos and Lagos elements of trying to wade into the emirship tussle and impose an emir on the Northerners.
Look, Choma, be assured that the presidency will react to it. You know why? The president at last count, in his media and information arm, has 13 appointees. 13 people just handling the president's media, the presidency. You have Daniel Buala, who is the last person. You have Bayo Nonoga. You have people in charge of new media. You have people in charge of orientation. You have people in charge of strategy and communication and all of that. So those 13 people will certainly hit back at Kwakwanso.
But people want to actually hear from the president. Yes.
When they hit back, when those people speak, they speak on behalf of the president. The president doesn't have to come out and say. They are his appointees. So, and what they do is to speak the mind of the president. Sometimes they have discussions with him. This is what this person said. How do we react? So Nigerians should not expect that it's the president that must react to everything. No.
But even when it came to the emirship tussle, the president did not come out to say anything, even though quite a number of Islamic scholars and others from the North expected him to wade into the issue. One of them even said that the president's passive stand on the tussle could cause problems for him in 2027.
Choma, when you talk about sultanate, the sultan is the sultan, or whether it's the sultan or the emir of Kano or emir of where, it's a state matter under the purview of the Ministry of Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs. Must the president wade into it? I mean, we have bigger things to talk about. We are battling insecurity. We are battling economic decline. I mean, we are battling all whatnot, and you expect the president to wade into every matter, the sultanate, the emirship, and all of that. No. You don't expect. I mean, he has spokespeople that can say that on his behalf. The president mustn't step into everything that happens.
All right, then you're listening to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. We're still discussing issues in the news. The PDP, of course, the opposition has slammed President Tinubu for conferring the national honor of Grand Commander of the Order of the Niger, GCON, on the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who visited the country and was around with the president in a meeting yesterday. And now the PDP's grounds with this is, of course, the president has the prerogative to crown anyone he wants with any honor, but there should be basis for that, not just mere friendship. Do you agree with that assertion?
Yeah, Choma, I disagree with the PDP. You know, I like the fact that you also said that the president has a prerogative. And these national honors are not meant for Nigerians alone. If Nigeria sees that a certain individual, you know, that comes into Nigeria based on any kind of relationship, whether it's economic relationship, bilateral or multilateral relationship, and that the person clearly deserves it, why not give it to him? And if you are talking about Narendra Modi, I think Narendra deserves it. He's been in office for 12 years, and he's done so much for the Indian people. And don't forget that India and Nigeria has always had very close relationship. And his visit to Nigeria speaks to the fact that we even want the relationship to be closer. And they sign agreements, bilateral agreements, that is going to boost our trade relationship with Kano, with India.
Yeah.
We were talking about creating some kind of alliance, you know, to clearly police the Atlantic the Atlantic waters, you know, between Equatorial Guinea and India, you know, that space to curb piracy that goes on there. We are talking about collaborating in the blue economy. We are talking about even military collaboration so that they can help us fight insecurity. And if India, through Narendra Modi, has done so much, Choma, within the past 30 years or so, India as a people, as a government, have lifted more than 400 million of their people.
How about we talk about strategic partnerships to also help lift Nigeria out? India has at least 5 times the population that Nigeria has. Right? We estimate our population to be about 220 million people. India's population is almost 1 billion people.
It's in excess of 1.3 billion.
Billion people, right? Yes. So if the prime minister is able to do all of this for the country, if you say that the honors is not bad, how about we talk about how we can also revive our own economy the way that India is doing?
Exactly. That's the essence of the collaboration. That's why Narendra Modi came here. And we signed bilateral agreements. I've just talked about the agreement on how to police the Atlantic waters, the agreement to collaborate in fighting insecurity in Nigeria. We're even talking about having to have defense agreements in terms of production of arms and ammunition between Nigeria and India. So if a man has done so well for his people, and we recognize that, it's good for us. Maybe it will also help Nigerians, you know, it will help the president to say, look, let me do well so that when I have a return visit to India, Indians can also
do the same.
Yeah, do the same thing.
Let's quickly talk about the Labour Party gubernatorial candidate in Ondo State blaming Peter Obi and the NLC for his defeat in the Ondo State elections. Now, we do know that APC's candidate Lucky Aiyedatiwa, who's currently the governor, was the deputy governor under late Governor Rotimi Akeredolu, actually won the election with over 360,000 votes. Now, the Labour Party candidate says he's blaming Obi because Obi anointed another candidate, Olushola Ebisheni. And now the case went to court. The Court of Appeal just ruled in his case a few days before the elections were to start, which was when INEC now replaced his name on the ballot. And so he did not actually have so much time to campaign. He's trying to say if he had much time to campaign, he probably would have won the election. Did he actually have what it takes to win that election before coming to blame Obi and the NLC for anointing a different candidate?
Well, Choma, I think the man is entitled to his opinion. But the question I'll ask, if you were around, I'll ask him, was it Obi that conducted the primaries that produced the other candidates? I mean, clearly, there's always a committee that is in charge of conducting primaries. And if the committee went to Ondo State, they conducted a primaries that threw someone up, does he expect Obi to have said, no, I go against the result of the committee? Obi merely endorsed a candidate that had been propped up by a committee. So if Ebiseni is coming to attack Peter Obi to claim that, oh, I lost the election because Obi anointed another candidate, and I just got in there like 2 or 3 days.
And he didn't have time to campaign because of the court case back and forth.
He should look at the committee and not look at Obi, because Obi merely endorsed. Or like I said, did he expect Obi to say, oh, no, this candidate that the committee has propped up, has produced, I'm not going to work with you, I'm going to work with this other young man so that he will win the election. I mean, it's not in Obi's place to do that.
The Court of Appeal actually gave the judgment affirming Olorunfemi as the Labour Party candidate 3 days before the election. Are you saying that whether or not he was affirmed as a candidate, he should have been campaigning? Because he's saying because he did not campaign, that's why he did not have a fair fighting chance to win.
No, that's another thing altogether. The case was in court. Who went to court? Wasn't he the one that went to court? Didn't he expect to get judgment? And if you look at that, well, the man that was campaigning, was he campaigning as an individual, or was he campaigning under the platform of the Labour Party? Because the party is more like the driver of the party or of the election. You know, so it's convenient for one to just fail an election and blame the other party as the cause of their failure. I mean, Choma, did you also hear the PDP say that, look, this election was a sham? And this is another thing that PDP said that is laughable said, PDP said this is the worst election ever conducted by INEC. And I'm wondering, Edo was worst, this one is worse again. So maybe another one will be, can we say something like Worcester? No, we can't, because there's no language like, there's no word like in English. So what I'm trying to say is that people should, when you fail, when you lose an election, you lose magnanimously. I don't want like a situation where at any point in time that someone loses an election, he looks for someone to blame. We call it
so this is the rankings of a loser.
Certainly. That is.
Would you say he's piling on Peter Obi, because it seems to be the popular thing now to be against Obi? When you go on social media, there is a lot of ethnic and tribal and the political battle going on where people are piling on Peter Obi. Even his supporters have been dumping him.
Unfortunately, the moment people pile against Obi, the moment people troll him, the moment people condemn him, the more popular he gets. So that has not worked. So if people are using that, as a game to see whether they can bring down Obi, it's not working. They should look for another track, because clearly it's not working. And I'm happy you asked the question. Is it that anytime somebody fails an election, he blames the other party? It's like having an external locus of control. You don't ever blame yourself. Oh, my failure is because the other person didn't do right, or the other person did what I'm supposed to have done. It doesn't work that way. People should take responsibility for their actions. I mean, you failed an election. Look at PDP. APC had all the big wigs, some governors in Ondo State, in solidarity with the candidate. What did we see in PDP? PDP big wigs were somewhere in Kano conducting an election on a day that their candidate was on the ballot in Ondo State. What does that tell you? Is it that they had already taken the election for granted, that, look, APC is going to win, let's just leave it for them? And now that APC has won, people have come out to say the election was a sham, it is not credible, and I lost because of B and all of that. Those things are not acceptable. People should learn to take responsibility for their actions.
All right then. Finally, just before you go, Mr. Okoro, former President Olusegun Obasanjo has called for a comprehensive overhaul of Nigeria's electoral process and called for the immediate sack of INEC chairman. Following the 2023 elections, we know that there have been several calls for the sack of INEC chairman. With the president reshuffling his cabinet, the INEC chairman was not touched. There seems to be a trend. The INEC chairman and Mele Kyari, NNPCL Group CEO, seem to be the two most top performing people in this administration, carried over from the last administration, because they've not been changed. They talked about the PDP saying castigating this election that was just conducted by INEC. At the end of the day, what really is stopping this administration from saying, okay, you know what, you need to move aside. There's been a lot of complaints against you. It's time for you to move aside and let someone else handle this.
Choma, you see, the thing about politics in life is that there's always an invisible friction, between the haves and the have-not. We versus them, us and them. If something is working for you, Choma, certainly, if you're in your comfort zone and something is working for you, it will be very difficult for you, except you're a nationalist, except you're very altruistic, for you to let that thing go. That is what is happening. Obasanjo is not the first person that has called for Mahmood,
Yakubu, yes,
to be sacked or fired by the president. The question is, if you fire him, who has the right to appoint another person?
Same president.
Same president. So what guarantee do you have that the new appointee is not going to do his bidding? So rather than ask for the sack of INEC, I think Nigerians should concentrate on saying, look, let us remove the power to appoint the chairman of INEC, the chairman of the umpire from the presidency. Can we now deposit it with the National Judicial Council, as some people have alleged? Again, you have a problem. The NJC is appointed by the same president. Now you now say, now should we take it to the National Assembly? Some people have even asked, should we begin to conduct elections, for the umpire, for the head of INEC? So all these things, these are the final details that we should keep tweaking to ensure that we get a credible process by which elections are conducted. For now, asking Mahmood to go is not a solution to the problem, because the moment he steps aside, the same president that is in office is going to appoint another person. Like I said, what guarantee do you have that that person is not going to do the bidding of the president?
We should focus more on making sure that INEC is much more independent.
Probably through an election process.
We should elect INEC chairman through election. Who will conduct that election?
They call it sortition. You can create an interim body to conduct that election. In some places, it's called sortition. Sortition, you sort. An election is conducted, an umpire emerges through that process. So he is clearly independent. Nobody, it is the people that asked him to hold that place, that position in trust for them. That's the way to go.
Just before we go, in 1 minute, because of our time, I want to quickly ask, with all of these issues are happening with the Labour Party, and you can see someone now from the party blaming Obi for his failure to win an election, would you say it's time for Obi to move on from that party?
And go to where?
Well, Yunus Satanko, the coordinator of the Obedient Movement, has said if the Labour Party is not ready for good governance, then they might be moving on. Right? So what if he turns the Obedient Movement into a political party?
I like the word he used, that Yunus used. He said, if. Until we see that if. Anything we say here will be in the realm of speculation. And if I may ask you, the kind of troll that Atiku has received from the PDP, Obi has not even gotten half of that, yet he's still in the Labour Party. So it's not that when people shred you, you just jump ship. No, you don't do that. You stay back. Take the fire.
You're advising Peter Obi to remain in the Labour Party.
I mean, if it serves his interest, why should some people, because of mere statements, push him out of the Labour Party if he's still interested in maintaining that position?
It's time for us to go. Mr. Okoro, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure having you here right here on the World News at 12. Thank you so much for joining us, and have an amazing day.
Thanks for having me.
You have been listening to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. Just before we wrap up, here's a look at the top stars again. You heard that there's fury in Russia amid Ukraine missile move. Kwankwaso claims Lagos plotting to colonize northern Nigeria. PDP slams Tinubu over GCON confinement on the Indian Prime Minister. Ondo Labour Party Guber candidate blames to be an NLC for his defeat. And Obasanjo demands sack of INEC chairman. And that is a wrap on the World